What's up, you guys? Thanks for clicking on a Backfire video. This one is special because I have just the national treasure. I have Ron Spomer on the line. Ron, good to talk with you.
Yeah, hey, my pleasure to be here, Jim. What's happening?
Well, what's happening is we have a ton of new cartridges that have come to try to knock the old existing cartridges off their pedestal. We're seeing new cartridges launched, I mean, twice a year. We're seeing a new cartridge launch just constantly. And so what I want to talk about with you, especially because you have so much depth of experience of just seeing how the market has changed over time, is we're going to go caliber by caliber and look at a notable example of one of the old guard cartridges and a new one. And the question we want to ask is, not which one is necessarily better, but which one has kind of won in the market? What are people actually using these days?
Okay. We'll see. I'll do my best. I can tell you what worked in the old marketplace. I'm not so sure I'm up to date on the new ones.
I don't know about that. You seem to be up to date on everything. So if you were to explain it to somebody that's kind of new to the gun industry, all these new cartridges, what physically are they doing to change the cartridges?
Oh, it's all about high BC bullets. So the old cartridges shoot as fast or faster, but because they don't have the ballistic efficiency, the aerodynamic efficiency in the bullet, you're getting some advances and advantages with the newer ones, because when they build these new cartridges, they start from, hey, we want to shoot a long high BC bullet for that aerodynamic efficiency. What do we need to do with our cartridge design, our rifle design, twist rate, and all the rest of it to make this all work? Then the other component is what I would say is probably a match grade barrel is the easiest way to define it. In the old days, there were hunters. They had a 30-06. You were going to have it. Who knows what ammo you were shooting? So the rifle chambers were pretty generous. The little bit of tolerance is extra, and just in case you picked up a load from some manufacturer that was a little oversized, it's going to still work. Whereas now, if you come up with a replacement for the 30-06, it's going to be maybe a short cartridge, a fatter cartridge. It's going to have a 30-degree shoulder. That seems to be kind of the shoulder angle they've settled on for the ideal. But then you want to have a lot of extra room for that long barrel in the chamber and the throat. So once you've done that, you put the fast twist on, and now you're shooting bullets that are 10 to 30 grains heavier than the old traditional top enders, and you're stabilizing those, and you're getting a lot less wind deflection at range. You might not necessarily get flatter trajectories out of them, but most of us realize now that, we can pretty much compensate for the consistency of gravity on our drops. That seems to be the formula.
Yep, I agree. So we see the idea of the benefit, and so the manufacturers are just licking their chops with this. They say, okay, now we go through every cartridge that's ever been designed, put a 35-degree shoulder on it, tighter tolerances, and a faster twist rate, and Bob's your uncle. We got sales coming in. Everybody needs new equipment.
You're on it.
So let's start. Let's go to the 30 caliber cartridges, and we'll work our way down. And so the matchup that I picked in the 30 cal is the 300 Win Mag, being the old guard, versus the newer cartridge, the 300 PRC. What would be your impression on kind of the market acceptance? Has 300 Win Mag just been unseated and nobody buys them anymore? Has it been just replaced by the 300 PRC, or who's won?
No, the 300 PRC hasn't won yet. There are plenty of shooters who are on the cutting edge who are drooling over that one and using it effectively for all the right reasons. It does what it's advertised to do. But there's so many pragmatic hunters out there who just say, look, the 300 Win Mag's been proven for, since 1963. It's been around doing it, and it's done it everywhere. You can find ammunition from every manufacturer everywhere. You really don't need a 230 grain high BC bullet. So what the heck? I'm just going to stick with the good old 300. Besides, I got Dad's hand-me-down, or Grandpa's.
I agree. And with this one, I would say the 300 Win Mag is still winning in terms of rifle sales and just popularity. I don't think the 300 PRC has touched it. Now, they both certainly exist. I don't think, 300 PRC, I see them pretty regularly. People are buying them. I don't think it's been a commercial failure, but I don't think it's unseated the 300 Win Mag. And I think one reason for it is the 300 Win Mag I don't think anybody's going to tell you 300 Win Mag isn't good enough for an elk hunt or whatever. It's going to be,
they better not.
It's going to be pretty capable. And so you could choose to go to a 300 PRC that's a little bit even more magnum, but you're trading, maybe 1.5 inch of wind drift and drop at 400 yards for 4 foot-pounds more recoil energy. And so I wouldn't take that trade. I don't want 4 more foot-pounds of recoil energy to save 1.5 inches at 400 yards. To me, that's not worth the trade.
Yeah. And I think the other consideration, though, is what I mentioned earlier, the ammunition availability. You're going to have so many more options in the 300 Win Mag. And as we all know, one rifle likes this load, one rifle likes another. So if you're not a hand loader tailoring your loads, I think you're going to find your accuracy potential is a lot easier to get with a 300 Win Mag. Just more options.
I think it sounds fair to say from what you're describing that I think both of us would say the winner in this is probably still the 300 Win Mag in the public's eye. All right, now you are the expert on 7mm cartridges. Literally, you wrote the book on it, and it is a great book. Check it out on Amazon or I believe on your store to get that 7mm book. What's the book called again?
Yes, sir. 7mm cartridges from around the world.
Fantastic.
We cover details on every one of them.
I really enjoyed that. Any cartridge nerd stuff, I'm definitely in.
Yeah.
So the matchup here in the 7mm caliber has to be the old guard being the 7 Mag, and the new guard being the 7 PRC, and even newer, the 7 Backcountry. And so between these, I would have to say in terms of popularity, the 7 PRC probably has unseated the 7 Mag. I don't see a lot of 7 Mag new on rifle shelves these days, and I see 7 PRC absolutely everywhere.
And that's odd. I would have thought it would be ranking right there with the 300s, as we discussed, but I think you're right. And part of the reason is this weird reputation the 7 Rem Mag had, still has in a lot of quarters, with a lot of outfitters and such, is that it's too fast. It shoots so fast that the bullet doesn't have time to open. It just zips right through the animal. It's like, slap your head. What are you talking about? But it exists. So there have been a lot of folks who grew up hearing these tales and just assuming there's something a little bit strange about the 7 Rem Mag. It might not be the glory cartridge that some claim it is. Then again, I've got plenty of friends who shoot it and nothing else, and it's one of my favorites. I've often said if I had one cartridge to haul for everything, that would still be it. But I think that's what's kind of holding it back. So when that PRC popped up with all the usual fast twist and longer, heavier bullets and rest of it, you tie that in with this a little bit suspicious about that old 7 Rem Mag, I think it's easier for it to unseat it. So you may be right. Now, I think the Backcountry is so new yet, it hasn't had a time to get this bite out of the apple. That might come on strong given its unusual characteristics. We're going to find out, but I'm starting to see a lot of younger guys saying, hey, I'm getting a 20-inch barrel in a 7 Backcountry, and that's going to shoot as fast as your 7 PRC or your Rem Mag will do with your 24-inch barrel. I'm going to put a suppressor on it. I am golden. So this is an interesting development. I think we're going to see more of that. So I think those two are going to be battling for top spot here in the next couple of years.
That will be interesting to see. So those who aren't familiar, the 7 PRC came out, how long's that been now? 3-4 years ago that one's.
Yeah, about 3.
And then the 7 Backcountry was, late 2024 release. And the ballistics in terms of drop and drift, boy, they're just about identical. It's the same thing. But you can shoot a 18-inch barrel and accomplish those same drops and drifts in the 7 Backcountry because it's shooting a higher pressure cartridge. And so it has incredible promise to give you the same performance with a shorter barrel. There are growing pains with 7 Backcountry is what I might say. I have a Horizon 7 Backcountry that's awesome, and I can get 7 PRC performance in an 18-inch barrel, and it's so cool. But I probably hear 3 problems with the 7 Backcountry from people for every one person that says they're loving it. And I think that's just growing pains as they're tweaking the ammo, as they're Rifle companies are quite figuring out the chamberings and what kind of rifle platform will perform best there. And so I put a little asterisk on 7 backcountry, like, yeah, maybe caution on this one. It may perform, it may exhibit some problems, but boy, I see the promise of it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
All right, so on this one, I think we probably say the new cartridge is unseating it in terms of popularity. Probably the 7 PRC.
Yeah, the PRC, yeah.
All right, dropping down, the next caliber is the 270 caliber, or 6.8 millimeter. And so for this one, you've got to take the 270 Winchester, the old guard that's incredibly popular today. In fact, the 270 Winchester, I recently surveyed my audience, and 20% of the audience, I asked, what's your favorite hunting cartridge? 20% of them picked the 270 Winchester.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That is, that's really high. Of all the cartridges, that one of them got 1 in 5 guys to vote for it, and it's old. So 270 Winchester versus the direct challenger was the 6.8 Western, and then I might also add the 277 Sig Fury. What happened? I think we have to say this one's kind of obvious in terms of popularity, but the old cartridge has dominated. The new challengers did not unseat it in terms of popularity. The 270 is dominating 6.8 Western in sales. Why did the 6.8 Western fail when a lot of people would say it's just a better designed cartridge?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who have figured that one out, and I think it's becoming more and more popular as word gets around, which is sort of interesting. Usually a cartridge pops up and somebody tries desperately to find something negative to say about it, and that spreads like wildfire and kills it. But with the 6.8 Western, it kind of came out and said, well, it's only Winchester and Browning are doing anything with it. It's going to be hard to find ammunition. It's not much different than the WSM 270, so why bother? But when guys started really looking into the ballistic performance of it, and they said, you know what, this thing can pretty much do anything that 7mm PRC can do, and it's in the 270, a little bit lighter recoil perhaps. I don't know, it might be worth a look. And then when that 7 PRC started having those velocity issues where they claimed it was going to deliver 3,000 feet per second and was actually doing 29 or even 28 with some loads, people said, well, let's take another look at that 6.8. So I think they've kind of turned a corner on that and it's starting to creep up again. But again, you've got 100 years head start with the 270 Winchester. And everybody knows what it can do. It was long ago considered the ultimate Western mule deer, pronghorn, and adequate for elk option. And with that kind of a reputation, you're covering the waterfront. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And if I were to put the problem with the 6.8 Western into a sentence, it's that Browning and Winchester, sister companies, make both the ammo and the rifle. And so when they go to market a new cartridge, there just isn't space for anybody else in there. Whereas when Hornady releases it, they don't make the rifles. And so it's easy for them to get all the rifle companies on board. And in today's market, I think if you make the rifle and the ammo, it's going to be tough to launch a new cartridge because nobody wants to support the rival. All right, going down to the next one is the 6.5 millimeter caliber. And this one I'm taking the 6.5 Creedmoor versus the 6.5 by 55. It's going to surprise no one that the 6.5 Creedmoor has absolutely dominated in terms of sales.
And it should, because it is the old 6.5 55 Swede was not all that popular in this country anyway. And it's a longer cartridge, it's older, styling just doesn't seem to fit these days. The wonderful thing they did with that 6.5 Creedmoor, despite all of the naysayers, is they designed that thing for optimum performance and balance. And it replaces the 243 as sort of a beginner's deer hunting cartridge. But because of those high BC bullets and what it does downrange, it outperforms its own size. You know, it just punches above its weight, as we say. And for all the naysayers and the negativity that's associated with it, there are so many of these long-range target shooters that have transitioned it into hunting with such great success that it's the runaway winner. For a while there, a couple, 3 years ago, it actually replaced the .308 Winchester in cartridge sales. That's how popular it was. And it remains that way despite the 6.5 PRC and the 6.5 RPM and all these new developments. I think it's going to stick around as kind of the ultimate 6.5 that's not too small, not too big. It's just kind of right in the middle for deer and pronghorn. And there are so many guys using it successfully for elk out here that I think it's going to hang around and be the long-term champ for many, many years.
Yeah, and I think the real only question there is are you the 6.5 Creedmoor or the 6.5 PRC kind of guy? And those ones, you know, I think 6.5 Creedmoor is certainly dominating in terms of sales, but that 6.5 PRC is also very capable. The whole 6.5 caliber has become so much more popular than it once was because of, I think, that balance that it has for the amount of recoil you get and the performance that we can do with longer bullets now. Dropping down to 25 caliber, the 25-06, the whole caliber's just kind of been left out to pasture. It's just never quite reached the pinnacle of popularity. But that 25-06 has so many raving fans, and that cartridge has been around for quite a while. Newer cartridges like the 25 Creedmoor are only a few months old, and I can't wait to see a 25 PRC. I've got a Stiller makes a barreled action of a Wildcat 25 PRC that I'm kind of excited about shooting.
I am currently playing around with the 25-06 Ackley improved with a 1-in-7 twist barrel. Whew, that's going to be like pushing some big stuff, riding on the heels of the 257 Weatherby. But I think it's a welcome change or reverting back to the popularity of the 25, because in the early part of the 20th century, the 25s were an extremely popular all-round cartridge for varmints, coyotes, pronghorn, and deer. The 25s were hot. So you had a 250 3000 Savage, a 257 Roberts, 25-06 at the time was a Wildcat. They just didn't have the powders, the slow powders to take advantage of that powder capacity. And of course, now they do. And that one is just ripe for what they're now doing, offering some 130, 135 grain bullets in it. And you've got good competition for your 24s and 6.5s.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how to declare a winner in the 25 cal because
that's
you're
tough.
You're gonna be hard pressed to find a new manufacturer rifle in 25-06. A lot of people have them and absolutely love them, but a new manufacturer rifle in 25-06 wouldn't be very common. But you are starting to see the 25 Creedmoors really popping up in stores, though I don't know how it's going to perform because it's just so similar to the 6.5 Creedmoor in performance. There's a tiny little difference. And so I don't know how to declare a winner on this one.
Yeah, this is a wait and see, Jim. And I think it's going to be the same problem the 25-06 has been languishing for all these years. It's like, well, it's almost a 270, but it's not really. And it's a little better than the 243s and 6mm, but not that much. So why should we mess around with it?
All right, now dropping down to the 243 caliber. You said something a little bit earlier that I wanted to come back to. You said the 6.5 Creedmoor has kind of replaced the 243 for your common kind of, I think you used the word starter deer rifle. Why might you say that is?
Yeah, because you can get a little bit better bullet options with it. You're getting up to 140 grain bullet. Well, what had made the 270 famous for a deer rifle? 130 grain bullet. So you've got a narrower bullet, a little bit longer bullet, a little bit heavier. You're getting a little bit more of what most deer hunters would say is punch on your animal. With a 243, you're topping out at a 100 grain bullet. If you've got a fast twist, you might get a little faster, but who has that? You'd have to hand load anyway. All your 243 factory ammo is going to go from 55 grain bullets up to 100. And then you've kind of hit a dead end. And a lot of folks still think maybe 100 grain bullets not enough for deer. I don't agree with them, but nonetheless, there you have it. So, I think we're going to just put Susie or Sam here in a 6.5 Creedmoor, and we can load up the 120 grain bullets for their deer. And then when they get used to it, a little more effective at recoil and all that control, and they want to hunt an elk or something, we'll put the 140, 143 grain bullets in there, and we'll be a little more versatile. Whereas if we're sticking with that 243, I don't think we're going to challenge anything bigger than a whitetail or a mule deer.
I agree. So in the 6mm caliber, you have the 6mm Creedmoor, the new guy, versus the 243 Winchester that's been so popular for so many years. my impression, kind of ear to the ground, listening around what people are talking about and what I'm seeing in stores, is they really are about at a tie. I see 243 Winchesters, certainly a lot of new manufacturers still there, and I see a lot of 6 Creedmoor on shelves as well. I wouldn't say that either caliber is really dominating sales for hunting rifles, but in my impression is they're about at a dead heat right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking the Creedmoor is going to take over. I hate to say that because I've loved the 243 for a long, long time. But the advantage of that 6 Creedmoor, of course, again, is the slightly heavier bullets. What are they up to now, 115 grains? So you've got almost the same powder capacity and horsepower, but you've got the more modern design, the faster twist barrels that'll handle those slightly heavier bullets, and that might just be enough to make someone deciding between the two, golly, I think I'm going to have an advantage by having another 10 to 15 grain bullet weight in the 6. And since the recoil is the same on the 2, they're both short actions, I think I'm just going to have to go with that 6 Creedmoor.
Hey, all right. I don't own a 6 Creedmoor, and I'd love to. I really love the 6 Dasher that is very popular in the kind of competition space. And so I just built a 6 Dasher in a hunting rifle that I'm very excited to practice on an antelope next week. All right, dropping down to the 22 caliber, the 22-250 versus the new challenger, the 22 Creedmoor. And yeah. I don't see a lot of new manufacturer 22-250, even though I love the cartridge and it's still a lot of people shoot it, but I don't see a lot of new manufacturer. Whereas the 22 Creedmoor, boy, it feels like it's just kind of spreading to all the different rifle manufacturers. And I hear a lot of buzz about it in the industry. A lot of people getting rifles chambered in it. I've had great success with the 22 Creedmoor. It's such a fun cartridge to shoot. I literally shot a 22 Creedmoor with the recoil pad mounted on my forehead, and there's just no recoil. It just like vibrates. There's no recoil on that thing, and yet it's a great cartridge for hunting deer. Yeah. And so I see the 22 Creedmoor just absolutely taking off. What's your impression?
I'm going to have to agree with you, Jim. Much as I hate to, I should be defending the old 22-250. I can remember when the 22-250 was the new kid on the block. It popped up. It's like, what's this hot new number? 1965, I think it was, or 64. Holy mackerel. It sort of replaced the 222 Remington. The problem it has ever since, though, is that the 223 Remington with the military 5.56 connection and all came out at about the same time. And it's that's sort of an in-between. It's a lot easier to see your hits with less recoil out of the 223. It doesn't sound like much difference, but there's significant difference there. I noticed it back in the day when I was shooting a lot of ground squirrels and prairie dogs. That 22-250 would always come out of recoil, and what did I hit? What did I miss? Whereas with the 223 or the 222, I could see the dust fly up if I missed a dog or something. Yeah, so it's like, well, I'm going to use the 22-250 for my coyote hunting. And then maybe I'll do some pronghorn and deer, which is the way it worked out. It was my absolute hands-down favorite for calling coyotes taken on anywhere. But then I fell into the 22-250 Ackley Improved, and that became my new baby because it was essentially a 220 Swift with longer cartridge case life because of that 40-degree shoulder on the Ackley Improved, and made reloading much easier. And I was getting the velocity I wanted and then some. And I made it a fast twist barrel, so I was shooting 60, 65, 70, 75 grain bullets through the thing. Boy, I had essentially a 22 Creedmoor before the 22 Creedmoor existed. Now, I take a 22 Creedmoor now and I put it beside my hand-loaded 22-250 Ackley Improves. You can hardly tell the difference. So I've got now a 22-250 Ackley Improved that's already loaded ammo from the factory and a rifle chambered for it. So there's no custom work involved.
Yeah, and if you live in a place where you don't have elk, boy, a 22 Creedmoor could easily be your do-everything rifle. You know, if you're hunting whitetail, you're hunting hogs, and you're hunting coyotes, boy, all of that is a perfect match for a 22 Creedmoor. Well, if we zoom out then and look at all these competitions and all the different calibers, you and I gave the new cartridges 2 losses, 3 wins, and 2 tie or wait and sees. And so I've got to say that it's incredible after, you know, so many of these cartridges are 100 years old. And with everything that we've gained and learned, the new cartridges maybe your 50% win rate in each caliber. It's incredible how little and yet how fast everything changes in guns.
Yeah, sure is. You know, and this is really going on. Most people don't realize it, but if you look back at obsolete cartridges in the U.S., there are as many back in the 1800s as there are now. They have always done this. It doesn't seem like they had the churning rate and the turnover rate the way we do now, but it was still remarkably high. We were always coming out with new cartridges. Think back to the 60s. You had the 6.5 Remington Magnum. Where's that today? The 350 Remington Magnum. Where's that today? The 6mm Remington. Where's that today? It goes on and on and on. We're always trying new things, and it just is throw it against the wall and see what sticks. And I enjoy all of it because we all learn something from it. The more we think about it and argue about it, the more we learn and understand about ballistic performance and begin to appreciate what really matters. It's not so much the name of the cartridge, the shape of the case and all the rest of it. It's the whole package put together. I think the development these days with the faster twist and the higher BC bullets is a major advance that's going to stick in the long term.
So the question in my mind even a year ago was, now what are we going to do? We've had a challenger to all the kind of the old guard. We've kind of done those changes to everything. And what are we going to do next? And it seems to me that the next generation of ammo, what's being tried, is high pressure ammunition. And for me, it's a wait and see. It may be that we say, oh yeah, now we can go up to 80,000 PSI and we just get great performance in short barrels. But, you know, the 277 Sig Fury has been a major failure in terms of taking off. It's nowhere. You can't even buy ammo for 277 Sig Fury right now. We'll see if Sig ever returns to making ammo for those people that bought the few firearms that have been sold with it. And we have the 7 Backcountry that also is just kind of a wait and see.
Yeah. It shows potential. I think it's a direction they can go, but boy, I don't know. It just didn't leap right out there and take off. You know, it's not 18 with a bullet.
Yep. Well, Ron, I love talking with you. I really appreciate everything that you add to our industry and everything on the Ron Spomer Outdoors channel. And to all our watchers, be sure to go grab Ron's 7mm Cartridges book. That is a fun one to read through. Thanks, Ron.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and keep up the good work at your channel. I just love what you do with new cartridges, giving them a real serious test, not just saying, oh, wow, this hot new cartridge does all these wonderful things. Let's see if it's really doing it. I love the way you dive into those details and get on the ground. It's the way to do it.
Well, thank you.